Hello and welcome to the program. Ukraine's national police force is undergoing a massive overhaul. Following Ukraine's Euromaidan revolution, more than 10,000 police officers were fired in an effort to increase public trust in law enforcement, streamline operations, stamp out corruption, and bring the overall crime rate down. To this, the old Soviet-style militia was replaced. Now, thanks to the Western-style, well-functioning police force, the old negative perceptions of the police are slowly beginning to change, partly due to training and guidance from US and Canadian police agencies. Joining us in the studio is Joe Mcallister. He's a retired RCMP superintendent and currently one of the advisors helping train Ukrainian officers. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
So, what are your impressions of Ukraine's police force so far, and what have you heard? What are some of the feedback that you've heard from the Ukrainian police officers who've undergone the Canadian and U.S. training?
For the most part, I've seen a very well-educated, well-motivated young police organization, very keen to see change themselves. A lot of them have left very good jobs, very high-paying jobs, to serve their country, and that's very admirable to see that. They're very motivated, they're very caring, they love their communities, and they want to be part of the success of Ukraine for the future.
And that's very important. Obviously, they want to stamp out that old stigma that police officers had before during, before the Euromaidan revolution, where a lot of the cops were accused of bribe taking and so on.
Yeah, no, for the most part, they've really engaged their local communities to show that they want to be part of the change, they want to be part of the solution, and they want to help develop a more modern, community-orientated style of policing where they focus on the community needs and not just on an enforcement-based type of old Soviet patrol style.
And that's very important. Now, I understand that the Canadian government is also helping to sponsor, or rather fund, this a new center, a new academy, a police academy here in Ukraine, along with their U.S. counterparts.
That's correct. For the last couple of years, we've been working together with the Ukrainian counterparts and our U.S. coalition donors to help find a proper location and then fund a nationally supported Ukrainian academy for the police, so they can all come through, get consistent professional training by professional instructors, and so that's going to start hopefully January. We are starting construction on the location now, and of course, you know, the minister has signed over the site, and they've hired a director and a deputy director who just came to Canada to see how the Canadian Basic Training Academy is done for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. They were First Secretary Takai was there, and Deputy Chief Bouchouev was there. They liked a lot of the things they saw, and of course, they have to bring things that will work in Ukraine, in the Ukrainian context. So it's going to be a nice opportunity to have all the police come to one location to train and then deploy out to their cities afterwards.
Right. Now, who's going to be training? Who are these trainers who are going to be passing on their experience to police officers? So
they've just started the hiring process for the instructors now. One of the criteria is they have to be current existing police officers with police experience, so that, you know, in our system, those are the people who can pass on their experience to new cadets, and they don't just lecture from a theory, they can actually say how practically they apply these particular lessons in their policing career. So that process is starting now, and hopefully within the next month or so, we'll have some of the new instructors hired, and we'll work with them to help show them how we do teaching as well in Canada. In fact, some of them are coming to our training platform in the next 2 weeks at the academy.
Right. Now, how much has the Canadian government invested in this?
So Canada has a couple of different funds that they're investing. They have $1.5 million Canadian, which they're investing in operational support equipment for the patrol police. And then we have another $1.5 million that our company, AgriTeam, is using to support the development of the school, some refurbishment of other training centers, and some other equipment for the computer lab, etc., that'll be used at the academy.
Right. Now, you yourself have been coming to Ukraine for the past 2 years.
That's correct, yes.
And what are some of the kind of best advice that you've given to young police officers, or perhaps, some of the more experienced ones?
We asked them to be patient. This reform has started. And it will take some time for it to get hold right across the country. You know, there's 45 million people in Ukraine. There's a lot of different provinces, a lot of different cities, and there's still a lot of old, deep-seated mistrust. So, you know, the first year they were welcomed with open arms. There was a lot of photographs. They were young and bright-eyed, and there was a lot of promises. And things haven't changed as fast as everybody would like. There's a lot of legislative changes that have to take place. There's a lot of changes in the court and justice system that have to take place for all of this to mesh together. And some of them are getting frustrated with the slow pace of change. But change, we say, is like eating an elephant. It's a big, long process, and you have to take one bite at a time. So we ask them to be patient.
Right. But do you see a lot of people's perceptions changing about the Ukrainian police?
I think so. I interact a lot with the local population, just walking around Kyiv itself, and also a lot with the expat community. And everybody is seeing positive change. The police are actually responding in a proactive and positive manner. They're out there on the streets, they're talking to people, they're engaging people, they're asking people, how can we help you? Which is a complete change of pace from what it used to be here. And
so never before heard kind of things coming from police officers.
No, and you see children now, especially with the school resource officer program they have children now saying, I want to be a police officer now. And you have children saying to mommy and daddy, you know, you shouldn't do that. The policeman told us, you know, crossing through a red light is bad. You know, you should obey the traffic laws. So you have children now really enabling this change as well. And that is through the direct result of the officers going into the schools and showing that police officers are here to help. We're here to help keep you safe, and we're here to listen to your needs. And that's a great start with the children, because they're the next generation, right?
So more, as you said before, more community-oriented work coming from the Ukrainian police.
Absolutely. It has to be, there is a time and place for enforcement, there's no question, but you have to understand, what are your community needs? What is the community, what's important to the community? And because all these officers live in those communities and they have families in those communities, it's important for them too to be part of that community solution for any type of problem.
I see. Now, what do you think are some of the kind of strategy that the Canadian police missions, I understand there are several different ones working here in Ukraine. What sort of strategy is Canada currently, does Canada have?
So we have a small footprint, and so we're focusing on areas where we can have the biggest influence. Our particular program with Agri-Team and my company, we're focusing on leadership development. So as of the end of the next 2 weeks, we will have trained every battalion and company commander within the patrol police across this country. So in 33 cities, everybody has received this updated supervisory leadership training that'll help them build strong teams and encourage their teams to go out there and be part of their community. We also have an executive development program for the senior officers, the senior management of the police, that we'll be running the second version of that probably coming this spring. We've worked with a lot of the women police officers and engaged them to show a program similar to the International Association of Women in Policing, and how women can be great supporters for each other, how they bring a lot of valuable skills to policing, and how their involvement in community policing is critical to the success of the program. So we have a number of different programs that we're working on. One that we're also starting on is mental health. We've learned in Canada, after 150 years of ignoring it, that mental health of your first responders is critical to them having a long and successful and productive career. And so we're working on a program with their psychologist and with their senior management to bring that program here to Ukraine as well.
Now, as a retired RCMP officer, you've had certain experience advising perhaps people within Ukraine's police force from the experience you've had working in Canada, as well as I understand you completed three policing tours in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm, that's correct.
And how has that helped you work here in Ukraine?
I think the biggest thing Canada brings to the table is we listen to our friends, we listen to their challenges, and we don't try and make them Canadian. We try and bring best practices, apply them to the Ukrainian context, and see what works for them, what their critical needs are, and where we can be of best assistance. So we're here to help, we're not here to impose. And that's where I think I've learned overseas. They say God gave us 2 ears, so we listen twice as much as we speak. and then we help.
Right, I see. Now, what about what can you tell us about some of the challenges that, say, the RCMP mission had or the police mission had while advising the Ukraine's Interior Ministry?
Some of the challenges are, of course, just the environment itself. Being able to mentor somebody in other, like UN missions and other missions where we can ride side by side in a car, wear a uniform, and go out there and support them, we haven't been able to do here because of some legal reasons. It's a language barrier, of course. Not a lot of Canadian police officers speak Ukrainian, so we always have to work through interpreters, and sometimes things get lost in interpretation, and they take twice as long. So a course that I teach that would normally take a week in Canada might take a week and a half or 2 weeks because I have to go through interpreters. So using interpretation is always a challenge, but we've had great interpreters. We've had great help from local Ukrainian engaged staff, and that's been a great success for us as well. We've kept our staff for the last couple of years, and without them, we probably couldn't have accomplished near as much as we've had.
Well, that sounds very positive. I'm sure we'll be hearing more about this new police academy that Ukraine's going to have with the help of its Canadian and U.S. partners. So thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you very much for having me.
So that was joining us. That was Joe Mcallister. He's a retired RCMP superintendent and currently one of the advisors helping train Ukrainian officers. You're watching UATV.